Great. So once again, welcome you all to the second part of the break-even analysis or CVP analysis. In this particular lecture, I'm going to look at for the multi-products, multi-products, multi-products. The break-even multi-products, multi-products. So here we've so far looked at when a company produces and sells just one product. Now you see two or more products. How do you still calculate the break-even? So when you see two or more products. So just pick aspirations and then look at some steps. All of them, I'll give you steps. So all the items that we have, we also have the equivalent for multi-product. So let me write single product here. Single product. And then we have what? Multi-product. Now, number one, where you have something like contribution to sales or contribution per unit, contribution per unit, under the multi-stage, we will have what? We will call it weighted average contribution per unit. Why? Because the products are not just one, they are many. So what do? Weight the average and use the average contribution. That is the first term that you hear. The next term that you also hear is the CS ratio. We also call it what? Weighted average CS ratio. Good. So these are some terms that you have to take note of. Then number three, we hear something here, no mix. No mix. We have what you call mix. That's a sales mix. So let me go further. Sales what? Mix. Good. So why is it like that? Because the single product is only one, so you don't have mix. That's the only product that you sell. But with a multi-product, you sell a lot of products. So that one, you sell them in combination. Some organizations sell them in combination. Yes. So if register F out, normally move it with what? With public sector. So that's the combination. Great. Okay. So that is it. Now all what you need to know or do is this. Know the steps to calculate the weighted average contribution per unit and the weighted average CS ratio. That is all. If you know these two formulas, you are fine. That is because we will go further. Break-even point. Let me move one step ahead. Number four. If you talk about break-even point, we have in the bracket the unit, right? Which is equal to fixed cost divided by what? Contribution per unit. Agreed. Fixed cost over contribution per unit. Under the multi-product, break-even unit is equal to fixed cost over weighted average contribution per unit. Have you seen the difference, right? So where we have per unit, over there to what? Weighted average. That is all. That is the difference. Why is it weighted average? Because here the product that we sell is not just one. There are two or more. So take note of that. All what you need to know is how to calculate these two people. Weighted average contribution per unit and then weighted average contribution to sales ratio. That is all. So who can give us the formula for finding break-even sales value under the multi-product? Under the multi-product. Break-even sales value under the multi-product. Break-even sales value. So the shortcut will be the fixed cost divided by the CS ratio. Great. So you can give it as another introduce ourselves to that of the terms that we have in a multi-product. We can go ahead and do what? Calculate the. So we first of all look at the steps that we have to go through to calculate the weighted average contribution per unit. So that's the first steps that we go through. So we will learn the steps in calculation of the weighted average contribution per unit, and then the steps in weighted average contribution to sales ratio. Then finally, we can now move ahead to calculate what the break even for multi products. Okay. So then, so let's see how best we can start with the steps. So first, calculation of what? Weighted average contribution per unit. So calculation of weighted average contribution per unit. No shortcuts in exams. Weighted average contribution per unit. Okay. So to calculate this, your first step is to determine the contribution per unit. That's the first step. Contribution per unit. So step one. Okay, so the step one, we said that's determine what the contribution per unit for the product. A unit for the product. That is all. Yeah, for each of the products or for the products. So let's be specific for each of the products. So right after that, then you go to step two. You go to the step two. The step two, you have to determine the mix. Determine the sales mix. Sales mix. For contribution, I'll not talk much because you can find it. It's a sales mix that I have to talk small. So let's assume I have product A and product B. The sales units is, let's say, 30,000 and then 10,000 units. Selling price over here is just 20 cedis, and here is 5 cedis. Okay. So let's see. Now, when I say sales mix, it simply means the proportion of each of the product that need to be what disposed of at a go. So that's the sales mix. And please again, we use the sales unit to determine the mix. We use the unit. So if I'm selling, let's say, markers and then dusters. So if 4 markers move, just a single duster also move. That's a mix. So we are saying that we use the units, not the sales revenue. So over here, the mix will be like this: 3 is to what? Is to 1. So the mix will be 3 is to 1. That is the mix. Okay. If you multiply the selling price and get the sales revenue, here the sales revenue is what? 60,000, right? And here to be what? Just 50, right? Here will be 600,000. Here will be 600,000. That's the sales revenue. And here will be what? 50,000. So here, what will be the mix? What will be the sales mix? So to be 12 is to 1. That means if you use the sales revenue, the mix will be wrong. This is the revenue. So we don't use this to determine the mix. We only use what? The sales unit. So if you want to determine the mix, kindly use the sales unit. How do you get a mix? Get the unit of the first one and the second one. Find, divide them, and get the least what? Common factor for them. That is all. So you are down the sales mix. Then step 3. Step 3. Step 3. Determine what you call total contribution. Total what? Contribution. How do you get it? Into bracket. The step 1 times step 2. Total contribution is equal to the mix. The individual mix times what? The contribution per unit. That's all. Then finally, the final step, step 4. You now calculate. Step 4, you now calculate the weighted average contribution per unit, which is equal to the total contribution over total mix. Good. Total contribution over total mix. That is it. So basically, this is the steps that we go through to determine the weighted average contribution. So we'll pick a nice question and we do justice to it. Now let's back this with what? Illustration. So let's pick some nice illustration. Nice illustration. So let's go to look at question 4. Question 4. So question 4. Calculate the break-even point. And margin of safety. Please, you can't do the margin of safety. No. There's no information available. Let's see. Say PL produces and sells. Sorry, question 5. So sorry, question 5. Question number 5.
Hello, Fred.
Great. So that is it. Now let's see the question 5. Calculate the break-even point and margin of safety. You can't do margin of safety, you can only do break-even point. Here I want the answer in, when they say point, they want what? Unit and what? Value. Okay, when they say point, like what happened last sitting. Check last sitting's own. They ask break-even point in unit and in value. How do you get it? Good. This just ended sitting. Okay, so let's see. PL produces and sells 2 products. So when reading the question, if they put it in essay form, please, to be on the safer side, kindly translate the question into this format and be free. If the question has not been arranged for you already, translate it like this. There are 2 products. So first product, second product. Okay, in that order. So let's get the details in here. Products M and N, right? So 2 products. M sells for 7 per unit and has a total variable cost of 2.94. So if I should write something here, product M and what? N. Then I can put selling price here. They say it sells for 7. And I can put material, it's a variable cost, right? Variable cost of 2.94. So whatever they tell me, I have to summarize it. And then they continue, say that whilst product N sells for 15 per unit. And that's the total variable cost of what? 4.4. So 15 against 4.4. So here to your currency, you are reporting the series. 15 and 4.4. Okay. Let's continue the game. 15 and 4.4. Now, the marketing department has estimated that for every 5 units of M sold, 1 unit of N will be what? Sold. So what will be the mix? 5:1. This examiner is very good for giving it to us. The examiner will not give it to you, and it will not make him bad too. Yeah, still good. So 5:1, that's the mix. So I have to summarize this one somewhere. So mix 5 and what? 1 here, like this. That is all. Then what left is the fixed cost, right? The next is the organization's fixed cost per trade is what? Per trade total is 123,600, right? That is all. So fixed cost is equal to 123,600. We have summarized the question like this. The rest to the question away. This is the entire question. We are going to calculate break-even point. And we said that break-even unit is equal to the fixed cost of our weighted average contribution per unit. So we have to calculate what you call weighted average contribution. How do you calculate weighted average contribution? We give steps, right? So what's the first step? Step 1, determine the contribution per unit. Okay. So I'll just have to change the heading here. Tell the examiner that I'm calculating break-even point. That's all. Like this. So first of all, start with the selling price minus the variable cost. What will be the answer? So that will give us contribution per unit. So that's the first step. So contribution per unit will be first step. Contribution per unit. So 4.06 and then 10.6, right? Okay. 10.36 will be 10.36 or 10.6. Okay, 10.6. Great. That was the second step. So that's the step 1. Step 2, determine what? The sales mix. Agreed. So what's the mix? 5:1. Put the total here, making 6. This is the total mix. Total mix. We need it. What's the next step? So this is the step 1. Up to here is step 1. This is step 2. And then left is step 3, right? Step 3 is what? Determine the total contribution. So let's write here total what? Contribution. Now, we do that by multiplying step 1 by step what? 2. That is all. So multiply each contribution per unit by the mix individually. So this by this, this by this. So let's do that. So 4.06 times 5. That should give us 20.3. Agreed. So 20.3. 4.06 times 5. This time this will give us 10.6. That one we need a total. And that's the end of the game. So what's the total, overall total contribution? So that's the steps. Only 4 steps, 30.9. That's all. So therefore, final step, weighted average contribution per unit is equal to your total contribution over total mix. So interesting. So now just substitute smoothly. So you'll be 30.9 over 6. What will be the answer? 5.15. Okay, so it's equal to 5.15. Perfect. That is all. 5.15. That is a perfect answer. 5.15. Okay, so that is it. Now let's calculate the break-even point in units. Okay, so now we can move ahead to calculate what the break-even point. So let's continue the game. So the next line, another examiner. That's examiner. I'm now calculating break-even unit, which is equal to fixed cost over what? Weighted average contribution per unit, which is equal to fixed cost 1, 2, 3, 600, all divided by 5.15, and the answer will be 24,000 units. I like that. 24,000 units. Now, when you are done like this, you're not done. You have to do what you call allocation. This 24,000 is when they produce both products, what? M and N. All the products, when they produce both M and N. So now you have to do what you call allocation. You have to allocate it and know the exact quantity that are coming from where? The M and then the N. If you N it here, you are not done. This is the totality, putting all the units together. So from next line, write your allocation and then break even value. So allocation and what? Break even sales value. All of them, they are in one working. Just one. Okay, so let's see how best we can do that one. First, tell us. Put M here, put N here. Start with your demarcation. So I'll put a unit here. What is a unit? So let me step him down small. M and then N. M, what is the mix? So you have to allocate using what? The mix. The mix is what? 5:1. So you pick the ratio. If they are going to share a unit of 24,000 in a ratio of what? 5:1, M will receive what? So how do you share? M will be 5 out of what? 6 times what? 24,000. And that will give us 20,000. What about N? Automatically, N will take 4,000. I like that. If you do the calculation too, you get the same answer. But the total unit that we are sharing is 24, right? Which you get 1 out of 6 times 24,000. Automatically. Putting everything together, you get your 24,000. You've not done anything, no. You have not done anything. If you write 24,000, you have not done anything. How can you share something like, let's say, 20,000 and you expect more than 20,000? Like you expect more. Okay, so that is it. Now you continue, don't end it there. Bring the selling price. SP, a selling price. What is the selling price for each product? Selling price is 7 and 15, right? Okay, so the selling price is 7 and 15. So 7, then put Ghana city here, 7 and then 15. 7 and 15. So you multiply to get the total sales revenue. So sales value. Sales revenue. Sales revenue. So the selling price, have the solution. So M is 140,000, N is 60,000, right? So Ghana city 140,000 and 60,000 respectively. Putting the two together, the overall total will be 200,000, right? Okay, so 200,000. That is it. So that is the end of the game. So this is the break-even what value, 200,000. That's the break-even value, 200,000. Break-even value, 200,000. Okay. Now we are done with how to determine the break-even what point for a multi-product. All what you need to do is go through the steps. Step one, determine the contribution individually. Step two, find your mix. Step three, find the total contribution. Then finally, divide the overall total contribution by what? The total mix. You are done. You calculate your break-even point and you share or allocate them. Okay. Now let's look at the next stubborn guy, and the rest is for question solving. The next item is the using calculating for the weighted average CS ratio. So weighted average what contribution to sales ratio. That's the next step that we are going to calculate using the same question. Using the same question. Then from there we can look at margin of safety. Yes, margin of safety and those ones.
So breakeven point, we have usually value.
Yes, for break-even point, you have it in unit and value. This is the break-even unit, and this is the value. This is the break-even value. That's the 200,000. That's the break-even value, 200,000. Because it's able to convert what the unit into monetary value. That is it. Let's also look at some steps that we can calculate what weighted average CS ratio. Because this 200,000, we have used just one single formula to determine it, and that's what I want to do now. How to determine weighted average contribution to sales ratio. So steps in calculating weighted average contribution to sales what ratio for multi-product. We are still at the introduction stage, learning the formulas, and very soon, right after this, we will now zoom into what pure question solving. We enter into the examination room, the engine room of both ICA and ACCA. Okay, so that one too. In fact, for that one, we need the same steps. The step that we use under the weighted average contribution per the same step will happen here. So step one, determine the contribution per unit individually. Contribution or per unit. Step two, determine what? Determine sales mix. That's not changeable. Step three. Yes, step three. We have determined the total contribution. Step four, determine the total sales. Finally, step five, we are done. Step five is the weighted average CS ratio, which is equal to the step three divided by step four times 100. It's equal to total contribution divided by what? Total sales times what? 100. Divided by total sales times 100.
Step 3 divided by 2.
Yes, so in short, it's the same as step 3 divided by step 4. times 100. That is it. So in short, that is how we can do to get those ones correct. So you're going to use the same question to produce this. And you know the use of what? CS ratio. We can use to do a lot of what things, right? Yes. We can use to look for the variable cost if it's not given. Look for fixed cost if it's not given. You should look for what? The break-even sales value. Ah. So that's the good news of this CS ratio. Okay. So using the same question, and you do have the summary there. So onto that the board and start calculating using the same, following the same steps. Okay, so going, right? So we are using these particular questions. So M and what? N. So their selling price is what? Sorry, that side is not coming. That side of the board is not coming. Let's go up a little. That decided to run away. So M and what? N. That is the two products. First of all, what are we calculating? We are calculating what? The weighted average contribution to sales ratio. That is what we are calculating now. So that the products in question are M and what? N. We start with our selling price as usual 7 and 15 cedis respectively. You consider the variable cost, but you're looking for contribution. What is the variable cost? Variable cost is 4.4 and no, this one might be 2.94 and 4.4. We had a contribution of here we have 10.6 and we had 4.06, right? Okay, so from here going, we find what you call total. We jump one step two. So this is step one, right? Step two. Step two. Now step two is the mix, right? What's the mix? 5 is to what? 1. In this case, we don't need the total mix. No, we are not interested in. Step 3, we should find the total contribution. So total contribution, you multiply, right? As usual. Get something like 20.3. You multiply that what? 10.6. Then step 4. What is step 4? Step 4 say total revenue. Who can find the total revenue? If total contribution is nothing by the contribution per unit multiplying by the mix, then total revenue will be what? Total revenue will be the selling price times what? The mix. Perfect. The selling price times what? The mix. So 7 by 5. That will give us 35. Then 15 by 1. That will give us what? 15. Good. We are done. For these ones, we need the total. So what's the total? What's the total sales and total contribution? We already had the total contribution be 30.9. This 9 is like 2 tall. Then let's add 15, 35 plus 15. 15 plus 35. That'll give us what? 50. That is all. How do you find contribution to sales ratio? CS ratio. So we said that step 5 is what? The CS ratio. Agreed. So what will be the CS ratio? What will be the CS ratio? That's a step 5. That is a step 5. Let me clean the top and do it there. So in short, step 5, weighted average contribution per sales ratio is equal to total contribution about total mix. So let's go down small, go again. Okay. About total sales times what? 100. So let's see. What's the total contribution? 30.9.
Find the CS ratio.
Good. The CS ratio is what we are finding. We call it weighted average CS ratio. So weighted average contribution per sales or contribution to sales ratio. So 30.9 divided by total sales of what? 50 times what? 100. That's the CS ratio. Kindly get it for us and then let's continue the game. So the answer is equal to 61.8%. That's all. Now let's go and do something. Now let's go ahead and now use it to calculate what? The break-even sales value. Because we can use what? The CS ratio to calculate what? The break-even sales value. You can also use the CS ratio to calculate what? The variable cost and fixed cost, those stuffs. Good. Let's see the game. How do you calculate the break-even sales value using the CS ratio? It's equal to the fixed cost divided by what? The CS ratio. But in the multiple, that is to be what? The fixed cost divided by what? The weighted average contribution to sales ratio. So let me leave this side. Probably I think it's the break-even sales what? Value. That examiner that is equal to the fixed cost of what? Weighted average CS ratio. What's the fixed cost here? 1, 2, 3, 600. Divided by what? The CS ratio we had 61.8. So change it to decimal. 0.618. Answer. We had 200,000. Confirmed, right? So this 200,000, we had it from the first question that we solved. However, I'm going to make some important analysis here so that don't fall the victim. No. Don't make attempt to share this figure because you share it, you get it wrong. Let's try and see. So it's the allocation, right? Normally when you get it, this is one figure. This is overall sales revenue. So we can allocate it, right? Yes. Don't make attempt. I'm proving why you should not do it. Because the answer will be different. Let's see. When we ask you to calculate the break-even sales revenue for individual units, kindly use the break-even point or can you use the unit? Get the unit first and multiply them by their selling price. That's the best way, except for if you don't have those informations available. So let's apportion this using the standard mix. The mix is what? 5:1. So M will take what? 5 out of what? 6 times what? 200,000. What do you get? then n will take 1 out of 6 times or 200,000. You will realize that these answers are not, will not be the same. Let me write it again. So m will be, we have n here. It's 5 out of 6 times what? 200,000. The value will be. Then we have 1 out of 6 times 200,000. Now we are saying that when they ask you to find the individual sales, don't do this. What you are doing, don't do it. I'm just proving to you why you should not do it. Okay. Using the 200,000. Yes. With the 200,000, don't use the 200,000. Don't share this because here you are sharing this. Let's find the answer. After the answer, I'll use it to explain. So what's the value? So this is the individual value.
16666.
So 166, 667. What about the, so 33, 333, like this. But the total is to give us what? 200,000. Now let's all turn our solution. Kindly visit the first solution that we solved. Go to the individual. Check the sales value that we have for the individual sales. Number one, we had what? 160,000. And we had 160,000. And we have what? 40,000, right? It was 140,060, right? Great. Let me write them. When we use the actual unit from the first solution that we did for the same question, we had 140,000 here. And here we had what? 60,000, right? Even though their total is still what? 200. So that's why I'm saying that in exams, don't, after getting this, don't move ahead to share it because we share it, you get it wrong. Totally. Extremely wrong. And it's a proof. So when they ask for individual sales value, use the first approach, is the best. But if the examiner does not need breakdown, realize that before we arrive at this 200,000, the first one, we went through a lot of procedures. But if the examiner is not interested in all those procedures, then you can dodge those sides. Use this single rate to produce the total for him. That's all. Maybe the question will be like this. Determine this break-even sales revenue. That's all. In total for the entire period. They need the total, no demarcation. That's all. So I hope you get this very well. So look at the wording of the question and then respond to it quickly. Okay. So on that note, we're done with the entire break-even. All the other questions is still valid. They can also ask you break-even at target profits. Before and after tax can also be in there. Good. So now to the same thing. We just have to add what? The target profit to it and still continue the game. Good. So you should take note. They can also ask you margin of safety. Then now and they have to give you a budgeted sales revenue. So I'll use question 6 to explain that. So let's go to question 6. And then let me start explaining that one. From there, then we now start solving questions. Now start solving questions. Now they were not solving questions. So we are explaining the principles. That's why the questions are so straightforward, free of charge, no issue of ambiguity. When you start solving question. That means question the same question that we solved, the B part is also. The B part is what? It's yours. The B part is yours. So let me go to question 6. DGS Limited produces and sell the following products: X, Y, and what? Z. 3. Multi, right? Selling price per unit, all of them are there. Variable costs per unit, all of them too are there. Contribution, oh, this exam not too high. It's so good though. He has covered the contribution for you. Then there's a danger ahead of us. They've done the contribution. So 16 minus 5, that's 11. Check whether they've got some of them wrong. 20 minus 15, 5. 10 minus 7, 3. So correct. Let's move on. Budgeted sales volume. That's a sales unit. And we said that we use the sales unit to determine what? The sales mix. We don't use the selling price or the sales revenue. Don't use them except for situation that you have no other information. Good. The company expect to the company expect the fixed cost to be $450,000 for coming year. Assume that sales arise through the year in a constant what mix. Okay. Calculate the weighted average sales ratio for the products. Calculate the break-even sales revenue required. Calculate the margin of safety. Calculate the revenue required to achieve a target profit of what? 900,000. Draw a multi-product profit volume chart, assuming that the budget is what? Achieved. Good. So let's quickly produce a solution to this particular one. Then after that, I'll now start my terrible questions. So far, I've not touched any terrible questions. We are just explaining what the principles one after the other. So here I'll be extremely fast. Calculate the weighted average CS ratio for the one is a weighted average contribution to sales ratio for the 3 products. The weighted average CS ratio. So I quickly tell the examiner that A okay, so A is weighted average CS ratio. I tell the examiner that there are 3 products. It's XYZ, right? So X, Y, and what? Z. Again, I'll tell the examiner that if I start with sales or the selling price. So selling what price? This time we are working in dollars. Now what's the selling price? The selling price happened to be 16, 20, and 10. So 16, 20, and 10. I'll go to variable cost quickly. But if done it already, we could have just pick it. I'll not even mark it for you. So still go ahead and solve it. Okay. What's the variable cost? So 11, 5, 15, and 7. So therefore your contribution will be 11, 5, and 3. Then again, you go to total contribution. We have to get a mix first, right? So let's get our mix. So we have our mix. So mix will be, let's go and calculate the mix from the question given to us. although we did it. The budgeted sales unit is 50,000, 10,000, and 100,000. So that would be 5 is to 1 is to 10. So 5 is to 1 is to 10. So 5 is to 1 is to what? 10. So what is the total contribution? Quickly, GC will be this by this 55, right? This by this 5. This by this 30. Let's get their total. 55 plus 5, 60, right? 60 plus 30, that give us 90 overall total. Now let's go to total sales, which is equal to still the mix times the selling price. That's the total sales. The mix is 5, selling price is 16. So 16 times 5. 16 times 5, first online. Any answer for me? And then 1 times 20. So that one, I can write that one first, 20. Then 10 times 10, 100. So 80. Great. Now putting all this together, what do you get? So we get 200. Perfect. So therefore, that examiner that weighted average CS ratio is equal to total contribution about total sales, which is equal to times 100, right? Over 200 times 100. And that'll give us something like 90 over 200. So 45%. We are done. Perfect. So 45%. So that's the A part. Let's quickly move on to the B. The B is going for calculate the break-even sales revenue required. Break-even sales revenue. The break-even sales revenue. Let me start that one also here. I want to clean up to this, up to that level. So B, break-even sales revenue. That is equal to the fixed cost of our CS ratio, which is equal to what's the fixed cost? $150. All divided by the CS ratio of what? 0.45. This will give you an answer of what? Sorry, the top is not coming. So that's it. So that'll give us 1 million units. It's a unit too. But the unit is should be in knowledge, not in method. Okay. Now that is it. You are done. It's sales revenue, so it must be in dollars. Calculate the margin of safety required. What is the margin of safety required? Here with the margin of safety, you need to get the how do you solve that one? Margin of safety. So let's start. Now we have to get a break-even unit. That'd be very good. So we have to get a break-even unit. So let's go and get a break-even unit. Don't forget that you cannot just pick this revenue and share them because of that issue that I explained. You can't just pick this one and share them. No, you got it wrong. Don't share this 1,000. Don't say that, oh, the ratio is 5 is to 1 is to 10. So I'm going to share this. No, 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 don't do that. It is what? Haram. So to do that, that's how when you go to Nigeria, they'll tell you that book is what? Haram. And that's why you have what you call Boko Haram. Uh-huh. I hope you're not catching me. Okay, so that is it. So let's start the game. So it means that we have to get a break-even unit. So let's first get a break-even unit. So let's do this rough workings here. Break-even what unit? So let's start with that one first. Break-even unit, which is equal to fixed cost over what? Weighted average contribution per unit. And I was told that now you are perfect. So we can go ahead without showing workings. Now what's the fixed cost? The fixed cost is $450,000. What is the weighted average contribution? We said that weighted average contribution per unit is equal to total contribution over what? Total mix. That's all. What is the total contribution here? We found it already. Don't worry yourself to calculate. Don't go through all the steps again. No, 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 no. Time is not there. We've done it. This is the total contribution. 90, right? Total contribution is 90. So bring the 90 here. Divide it. What's the total mix? Sum them up. The mix is 5 is to 1 is to 10. So 5 plus 1, 6 plus 10, making 16. So total mix is what? 16. So divide 90 by 16. It will give you what? The weighted average contribution per unit. And that will be so 5.625. So 5.625. So that means here should be dollar of 5.625. So what's the break-even unit? 80,000 units. I like that. I like that. That's super fantastic. 80,000 units. So 80,000 units. So now that you can find the margin of safety proper. If you go and then apportion that 1 million off, when I say that, I'll not even continue. I'll not even continue for you. So that is it. So now that we have it here, we can now start the game. We can now go ahead and start tell the examiner that, examiner, now we can vividly calculate the margin of safety. Margin of safety, where the products are many, write the product here, X, Y, and what? Z. What do you do again? Margin of safety is the difference between what? Your budget. So bring your budget here. Budget. Or the budgeted units. The budgeted units. Go to the question and pick the budgeted unit and be free. What is the budgeted unit? So the budgeted unit is 50,000, 10,000, and what? 100,000. Good. So 50,000, 10,000, and what? 100,000. Third examiner, break even unit. This is a unit. Share them using the what? The mix. So let's share them using what? The mix. So if it's 80,000 units, and then the ratio is 5 is to 1 is to 10. How do you share 80,000? So the first person takes what? 5 out of 16 times what? 80, right? And now give us the first person receives what? 25. Okay. So the first person received 25,000 units. What about the second person? He will take 1 out of 16. That will be 5, right? That will be 5,000, right? Good. Making 30. That means this guy will take off 50. So the ratio will be okay. So what is the margin of safety in terms of units? So margin of what? Safety in terms of what units? That will be still 25. Please, here is coincident that it's half, right? It's the same. It's the same. Wow, I like this question though. What about margin of safety in terms of value? You multiply this one by the selling price, right? And here I'll provide an alternative. Pick the individual selling prices and then multiply it by it. The selling price by, that is the selling price of the selling price for the first one is 16, 20, and 10, right? So 25,000 times 16. Any answer in value? Value is in dollars. So 16 by 25. 16 by 25. 16 by 25. 400,000. So he'll be $400,000. And then 5 by, is it 10? So 5 by 20 and 10. So 20. So that'll give us 100,000. And this is 20. 50 times 20. This and this give us 500. So this answer must also be no.
The last one is 10.
Yeah, 10.
So 500. 50,000.
Okay. Okay, so that is it. We are done. Then left percentage. Now alternative. I want to do alternative for this one. Alternative for margin of safety in terms of value. Don't worry. It's equal to the budgeted sales revenue times what? So less the break-even sales revenue. You can also use that. You get the same answer. But let me move on. Now percentage. As a percentage. Help me find as a percentage. Margin of safety as a what? Percentage. We have done unit value. Let's go to percentage. As a percentage, don't need to worry at all. Just pick the margin of safety and divide by what? The budgeted unit, right? So margin of safety in terms of unit is what? 25. Over the budgeted unit. That'll give you what? Individually 50%, 50%, and what? 50%. Let's see the overall total. Let's look at total too. The overall total, what's the budgeted unit? Let's do some small analysis for total. Because we might ask you. So 50 plus 10 plus 100. That'll give us 160,000. Wow. Then the break-even unit, we had 80,000. Wow. That's so interesting. So therefore, the margin of safety in total to be what? 80,000. And then the monetary value be what? 1 million. Then the percentage be what? 50%. Wow. That's so interesting. Okay, so we are done with this particular section. Now let me move on with the requirements and see if we can finish it quick to start my testing question. We've done the margin of safety, even though here didn't state whether it's a unit or value or as a percentage. So that's why I did all the three. Whichever they want, they should pick it and then we move on. If you calculate just one, we mark it for you. At least maybe one or two. Don't calculate all the three. Just one or two. Then D, calculate the revenue required to achieve a target profit of what? 900,000. Start work. So can you try that one for me right now and let's see the answer? Okay, great. So with the that particular question, the revenue required to earn a target profit of 900,000, we just have to add it. So D, tell the examiner that revenue was required, which is equal to fixed cost plus the target profit all divided by the CS what ratio, which is equal to fixed cost of 450,000 plus profit of 900,000 all divided by 0.45, and that gives us dollars of 3 million. Great. The same way, if they are looking for the unit, if they are looking for the unit 2, that one would have been the fixed cost plus the target profit all divided by what? Weighted average. Here is a weighted average. So weighted average contribution per unit. That's all. So that would be the 450,000 plus 900,000 divided by what? The weighted average sales ratio, we had what? Weighted average contribution per unit. 625. And then we had 240,000 units. Good. So that's the end of the game. Now, when they ask for the graph for multi-product, there are two types of the graph. Yes, the most common one is the profit volume chart or the profit chart. I'll just sketch it for you, but you have to use the main details. It looks like this. For the profit chart, draw it like this. Good. Locate here, name here the profit. This is the profit line or total revenue or total cost. But here we are interested in profit. So take note. Sorry, the top is not coming. Okay. So profit line. Now, you know the break-even unit, right? This is the unit. You start from here. Here is 0. This one cannot come. So this is how it will be like this. Be like this. Because you can't get negative units, so take note. 0, 1, 2, 3. So here it's in thousands and it's 100,000. So let's start by saying 80,000. You'll do what? 160,000. And you'll do what? Plus 80, 240,000, right? Okay. Now this unit is a combination of all the three products together. Combine them. Got this multi-product. So put all the three units together. Then find the total profit. So find the total profit at this. So maybe if the total profit is here, they are getting something like maybe here's 100,000. Here's 100,000 too small. Let's make it 400,000. So you'll be 800,000. You'll be 1.2 million. Okay. Then you plot it. Yes, negative. Yes, negative 400. Yes, negative 800. Yeah, they can get lost. Negative 1.2. So you plot the first one. So when they produce 80,000, what's the profit? It can be somewhere, it will be in the negative because the break even will be there. So now the profit will be like this. So when they produce 80,000, they'll get a loss of somewhere here. So you plot it, it will come and then come and land on this one and start going up. So you draw the thing like this, then like this. So this we are just drawing profit curve. using the details of the question, I've just sketched. So where the profit touches the x axis, which is the unit, this is the production, the output. This particular axis is the output, or the x, this is the y, right? So wherever the profit line touches, this is a break-even point. So break-even point. Perfect. So that is the end of the game. That's where the profit is equal to what? Zero. So this is how you have to sketch the multi-product. Okay. So we are done. We are now going to look at the exams past question. I'll begin with only one for the night, and I'll upload the remaining one on the platform. In our next meeting, please, we look at some few of them and go through some technical ones, and then you'll be fine. So now I'm going to look at some question here. It is called motokin.
What is it?
This question is in the old material, so we can see the old material. Motokin should be around.
This is here.
Yeah, that's question 9. Question 9 is 2015 November. Question 9, 2015 November. Question number 5. 2015 November question 5. It is in the material question 9. The first one was assumptions. 4 of the assumptions. You can code them. I'll go to the B. So B, it says that Anta Limited manufactures and sell motorcane to customers divided into high quality, medium quality, low quality motorcanes, and the categories below. So sales price, high quality, medium, and low, all of them are there. Involved costs and commission on sales, all of them are there. Now, they are saying this. It is on record that sales quantity of low quality motorcane is twice compared to medium and high quality motorcane. Annual fixed cost is 310,000. Sorry, annual fixed cost of 310,000 is expected to be incurred. That is all. Required. Compute the sales mix. One mark. I like that. So start work with the sales mix, then I'll pick it from the second one going. So sales mix. Okay, so put some few points together for me. If you're watching too, kindly pause the video and sorry before you continue. Okay, in this particular question, it is the arrangement. Now they are saying that it's on record that sales quantity of low quality motorcane is twice, 2 times as compared to what the medium and the high quality motorcane. So it tells us that if the medium is, let's say, 2, the load what 2 times, making what 4. If the medium is 3, the load what 6, 2 times. So in short, here please and please again, if we are writing this, we ask for the sales mix. We did not ask for numbers or not ask for just mere ratio. So if you quote 2:1 like this, I'll not mind you. If you quote 1:1 2, I'll not also mind you. No. I'll not give it to you. Unless you tell me that, okay, you are starting the A sales mix. The solution will be like this. Sales mix on the line. Tell the examiner that you are going for low is to medium is to what? High. It's now equal to what? 2:1 is to 1. Or you can also say that high is to medium is to low is now equals to what? 1 is to 1 is to what? 2. This is what we are looking for. We say mix o. Because if you go 2 is to 1, I can decide to write any figure there. Me, I write something here like this. I'll put medium here. I'll put H here and put L here. That is it. You are telling me that the medium is 2, high is 1, low is what? 1. So take note of something like this. It's so simple, straightforward, but we can use just small technique to that change things, start marking down or something like that. So let's make it difficult for them to get us. So that's great. Okay, so we are done with the first one. Let's move on to the next. So the ratio is 1 is to 1 is to 2. Now there's an alternative. And the alternative could be like this. Now if we add that of low, if you add something like, if you add these two together, it will be 2 times and multiply by 2. You now get this. That is the alternative presentation because they say and. So when I sum high and medium together and I multiply by 2, I'll now get a low. That's alternative. You can also do that to get the answer. So in that case, what will be the case? So if I have 1 here and 1 here, I'll sum them up. I'll get what? 2. So this one will be what? 4. That's the alternative solution. Yes. It's 2 times high and what? Medium. So when I put this one together, I'll get 2. And 2 times, they multiply by 2. But please, the first one that you had is also correct. It's the best answer. So it's an alternative. You are done with the A part. Let me explain the second aspect to end today's edition. The next one, compute the unit contribution margin for each of the brand of the motorcade. Start work. I'll pick everybody's answer. Okay. So, okay, let's do it together. Compute the unit contribution margin for each of the brand of the motorcade. 4 marks. So unit contribution margin. How do you get a contribution? You're just looking for contribution per unit. That is all. Contribution per unit is nothing by sales less the variable cost. Here the variable costs are involved cost and the commission. These are the variable costs. Commission is part of the variable cost. Take it, add it to this, and then you less it, then now get your. So let me do that one. So I'll start II. That examiner that unit contribution. And please stick to one approach. If you like high, medium, and low, stick to that. If you like low, medium, and high, stick to that one too. Don't be changing it. They go by high, medium, and what? Low. So I'll go by that. Sales. And then involve costs and then commission. I'll now get contribution. So I just have to substitute. It's in series. Let's go and pick the sales from this particular question. The sales is 3,400, 2,300, and 1,007. So 34, 23, 23, and 17. So now let's go. Everything. Okay, so involved cost. Let's go and pick the involved cost too. Involved cost is 1,000 to 1080 and 690. So 1,000 to 1080 and 690. Put them in bracket. Then the commission Contribution 2 is 80, 60, 40. 80, 60, 40. So the contribution will be, so 3,400 minus 1,200 minus 80. Any answer for me, friends online? We're about to end the game, so kindly let me have the solution if possible. Okay, so 2120 and then 1160 and 970. That is all. Yeah, done. So that's all for how many marks? 4 marks. Okay. Then the next one, compute the weighted average unit contribution, right? So how do you get the weighted average unit contribution? We bring the mix in, right? So I'll continue again. Let me continue. Mix. The mix is 1, 1, and what? 2. So therefore, the total will be total contribution 2120 1160. So 970 by 2 give us so 1140. 1
940.
okay, so 1940. 1940. What are we looking for? We're looking for weighted average unit contribution. So that's the contribution, weighted average contribution, right? Per unit. So that one we have to get the total mix. Total mix will be what? 4. What's the total contribution? 5220, right? So therefore, weighted average contribution per unit is equal to the 5220 divided by what? 4. And that'll give us 1,305 Ghana cedis per unit. Perfect. I like the answer. Okay, then let's continue with the requirement. Compute the break-even sales in volume. Volume means unit. And what? In sales. Sales means value. They want the sales value. In revenue. Sales revenue. So that is it. So now we have the weighted average contribution per unit. So let's continue the game. Kindly demarcate it very well. So start. I think that's the I or so, or IV. Or that's the IV. Break even point. In units, they say volume. So you have to use volume. Is equal to the fixed cost of our weighted average contribution per unit, right? Which is equal to what's the fixed cost here? You have to tell us the fixed cost. 310,000, right? With the fixed cost. Fixed cost is 310,000. So 310,000 all of our weighted average contribution per unit. So 1305 and now give us unit of usually get any answer for us. Also 238 units, right? No point. Okay, so 237.54, right? Units. Yeah, what? 55. Okay. So 55. Then let's go. Allocation, right? you can allocate the unit. So let's look at allocation and value and break-even sales value. And the same notes. What are the products? High, medium, low. This is how we want to arrange it. Next, check your calculator. What's the mix? The mix is 1:1:2. So that will be total of what? 4. So 1/4 times 237.55. Any answer for me? And then you do the next one to the same thing. Then you're giving me the last answer. That means I'm writing it down.
59 for the first one.
59.38.
38.
So 38, the same thing here. 59.38, and then twice of this. That give us 108.
118.
Sorry, 118.77.
77.
Okay, so that is, then you bring the selling price. The selling price is 3,400, 2,300, and then this one is 1,007. So therefore, what is the sales revenue? So sales revenue, and that will be, so let's look at that one. Okay, any answer for me? If you have any answer for me, can you let me have them? 2019. So 201,926. Then okay, so the first two answers are they are the same, man. It's the first and the last. So 201,926. And then the medium 136,574. Kindly put the total, and that's the end of the game. We are done. 136,574. I'm getting 136,597. What caused the difference? One is 0.9 and 0.7. Okay, so that is it. Kindly sum them up, and that's the answer for that particular question. Let's look at the last one. So how many motorcades should be sold to earn a target profit of 15,000? I believe that one, you can try that one for me. Unfortunately for us, this is how far the good Lord will bring us. Thank you very much for coming. Please don't end it here. Continue solving the question, especially there's a question here that I have to give it out. Okay, you are doing question 10. I need a solution. Question 10, please. I need a solution. And then you are doing question, there's another question that, question, why, there's a question here. Oh, that question is not here. Okay, so you are doing question 10 and 11. Question 10 and 11. And then I'll upload the terrible questions on the page that we will solve by try and solve them before we meet next week. Go through. I'll only solve about 5 of them. Now on those 5, I am done. Let me try and see if I can go through that. The terrible ones. The terrible ones. Uh, One is called Brahabeda Hotel. Another one is called Agrobeso. Another one is called I Am Done. Another one is called Guinea Fowl. Yes. So those ones, but I don't know the nutrient that it contains. But they are very good for your health. They boost your academic system. So someone informed me that they contain academic what? Citrogen. Yes, those questions. They are very good for your health. Take them as like COVID vaccine. No, COVID vaccine, take it once. This one you can't take it once. So this question, you have to take it every day. So before we go, finally, let me bring those questions in here, at least for you to scan through them and see and fill them. Though I'm still adding more to it. I'm still adding more to it. There are many, but at least if you can try all of them, I'll be very fine. So like your question one, Agroversor is question one. Then question two is I am done. Then question three is Brahabeda Hotels. Then question four is called Eviase. Eviase. Eviase Munsem. Question four. Eviase Munsem. Then question five, you solved it already. Then question 5B is also there. My challenging ones are the question four, yeah. No, this one I have to change it. This particular question, Zuma. Yes, and then this particular one's Bosiakon, Zuma and Bosiakon. And then graphics. These ones are the one that I'll solve next week. So can you go through them for me and you'll be fine. Those questions are a bit challenging. Including last things own. This is last things own. Let me bring last things break-even question. Good. So this is last sitting's own. That one you have to do justice to it. Just ended sitting. This is last sitting's own. Now left for us to go and fish out the items that we need. Some of the items do not give it to you for free. You have to look for it for yourself. And all of them, they are, they are the ones that have compiled those questions on. Those you have to fish it by yourself. So kindly go through and you'll be fine. Yes, kindly go through it and you'll be fine. So thank you very much for coming and for also watching. If you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe to the channel for us and share the link with your friend. Okay, so have a nice day, and then enjoy the rest of the day. So thank you very much for coming. Good. Goodbye.